I think probably the thing I was having the hardest time with before was the idea of moving a camera, in a world like that's kind of never been my strongest point was the kind of depth and foundation of the environment one is in.
Yeah.
So there was a moment where my character was going to go up a hill, and you kind of showed me how to move the camera up to kind of mimic
Yeah.
something that wasn't actually happening. So the fakery in a storyboard to make something have more depth and cinematic feel was massively eye-opening for me, and that alone was worth the price of admission. Just
Hi everyone, I'm back again with another student testimonial again, and this one is also for my action boarding mentorship. Today I want to introduce you to Patricia, who took my mentorship. Well, she started last year and she finished early this year. So Patricia, could you introduce yourself to everyone and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
sure. Yeah, my name is Patricia Ross, and I live in San Francisco. I'm from the Bay Area. Um, I have worked in animation since 2000, and as a board artist since 2004. And I started out working in preschool kind of CG stuff, um, and slowly and surely have developed more skills and gotten into kind of older age stuff, and that's where the desire to take the class came in. Like always trying to do better and always trying to improve and add new things to my portfolio. So
Okay,
yeah.
awesome, awesome. So, Patricia, you joined my action boarding mentorship, right? And I can't remember. Did you say that you didn't do much action before, or did you
No,
already?
like I had only done one shot, and I did it last year for the first time. So it was like a fight, and then it was a show that had a bunch of medieval battle scenes with millions of characters. So until last summer,
Yeah,
I had never gotten the opportunity to do an action shot, and I'm a big fan of them. It's not my default go-to. I love. It's exciting to watch them, but I was kind of overwhelmed by things like perspective and cars and things like that kind of terrify me. And I was delighted to take your course because I easily could have said, when you were asking me to pitch an idea, I was going to go safe with the usual stuff I do, which is kind of like human comedy,
yeah,
personal interactions between people who are close to each other and stuff like that. And you said, no, I think you should go out of your comfort zone because I'm here to kind of walk you through it.
yeah.
And that was the best decision I ever made. And I'm super into it now. Yeah, I was
Awesome,
delighted. Yeah, thrilled.
awesome. So, the first kind of question I really want to ask you is, as somebody who has like so much experience before, not necessarily with action, but somebody who has so much experience and somebody who wanted to keep learning. I know there's a lot of experienced professionals out there who teach. Why did you specifically decide to go with me and this particular mentorship?
Well, I became aware of your work only through LinkedIn. I mean, there's 10 million zillion brilliant artists out there, but only in the last kind of few years has at first LinkedIn was kind of a place where it was kind of tech and business oriented people. But in recent years, like maybe in the last 5 to 7 years, I've been really getting a lot of work that way because I realized that my network is all great artists and stuff. So I started seeing people put their work up. And so that was how, I mean, I don't know how I would have seen your work otherwise, unless
Yeah,
somebody had referred you to me, but I had never heard of your stuff before. And I just think your drawing style is exquisite. I think your boards are exciting to look at. They really have depth, but a real sophisticated simplicity about them too. You obviously are a master at the human form. But just yeah, they're very simple, very clear, very loose. They haven't lost their energy. They're not stiff and tight.
yeah.
And that was like I just love your stuff. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No,
Um,
not at all.
so I think you kind of touched on this question a bit earlier, but what would you say, or how would you describe the process of actually creating your sequence throughout the mentorship, like from beginning to end? Like, what was that like working with me? Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I was able to push myself out of stuff like I cannot draw, or thought I could not draw cars or vehicles or bicycles or things like that. And in this piece, there are buses and vehicles and bicycles. And I was like, very kind of shortly into the process, I was like, oh, I can do this. So it was a head thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you were 100% right about taking yourself out of your comfort zone. And like, I would have lived the rest of my life being afraid of drawing vehicles or bicycles. And now I'm like, I'm not intimidated by that anymore. I can totally do that because it just, I don't know, I broke through some kind of fear in myself. But I was also able to keep the comedy, keep the energy. And each week when I showed you kind of my revisions to the basic idea, you came up with some very simple things. Like initially, just in brief, the character was going to be late for something and she was going to forget her bicycle was on the front of the bus. So initially I had her get on the bus and everything was going to be happening on the bus. And you were like, I don't think she needs to get on the bus, you know? And so old me would have been afraid to have her cycling through the city or having vehicles go through the city. But now I got really into it, you know? And I even put a ferry in there, you know, and to me, I was just previously limiting myself, whereas after taking your class, I wouldn't be afraid to try that stuff anymore. In fact, I'd be much more excited about it.
Yeah, wow, that's so awesome to hear. So you like in the mentorship, I had like a presentation part and like then the story development part where we just worked on your sequence. Is there like anything you learned in either section that maybe you didn't know before, or maybe you didn't like really observe it before, and now you know it, and now you implement it now, or actually think about it much more now?
Yeah, certainly. I think again before. Old me would have been so overwhelmed by the idea of an action shot or a chase scene. Like, how do you even begin that? But you had some really clear breakdowns of existing stuff in film, and then the kind of science behind or theories, various theories on how many scenes you should have of this, and when, at what point you should cut back to the other reaction shot, and things like that. So especially like you had some little graphs that were really interesting about, you had a green line for when the character was reacting and how many exchanges there should be in a fight scene before you cut. Yeah, I thought that was real helpful. I'd never seen it broken down like that before. And if I watched an action film now, I would be 1, 2, 3, I'd be kind of counting.
Yeah,
So it was exciting. It's like getting a look behind the veil of how stuff is built.
Yeah, that's awesome. And once you see it, you can never like unsee it anymore, yeah. Right? So that's super awesome, right? So it seems that as though you got like a lot of value from the mentorship, but is there anything in particular that you found the most valuable? What was your favorite thing, or that the one thing that you could take and say, if I could only learn one thing, it would be that thing?
That's a good question. I think I think probably the thing I was having the hardest time with before was the idea of moving a camera, in a world like that's kind of never been my strongest point, was the kind of depth and foundation of the environment one is in. Yeah. So there was a moment where my character was going to go up a hill, and you kind of showed me how to move the camera up to kind of mimic something that wasn't actually happening. So the fakery in a storyboard to make something have more depth and cinematic feel was massively eye-opening for me, and that alone was worth the price of admission, just to kind of get over that terror. And now, there's even been jobs before that I would not have applied to because they specified someone who was good at action, Yeah. And now I desperately want to put more stuff like that in my portfolio so I could not be afraid to apply for those jobs, Yeah. I probably still wouldn't get them because my stuff is, it's not great, but I feel not afraid of it anymore.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because the moving camera, because a lot of times recruiters would say, we want to see cinematic boards. And when they explain that, they talk about the moving camera a lot. Like they want to see you move the camera instead of like cutting a lot. So I'm really glad that that's something you notice and you're implementing now, because that's something that they really like look for in your board, especially in feature. That's something that they really, really look for, right? So the last question I want to ask you is, since you went through the entire mentorship, um, uh, what or who would you say is the best person to do this mentorship, or the people that would get the most value from this mentorship?
I would say it'd be for somebody who's at an intermediate level at most, because I do some mentoring with kind of newer board artists too. And I just think from their perspective, that would just be so much overwhelming information. I mean, because when you're young and starting out, you're kind of more struggling with getting the drawing, kind of learning how to make a simplistic thing with not too much detail. We all kind of default on putting too much.
Yeah.
In reality, you have to kind of get some solidity and foundation in your skills before you're ready to kind of take on the whole world of moving cameras and stuff. And so I think intermediate to advanced would probably be the best person for this particular course.
Yeah, I totally and utterly agree. So, yeah, so thank you so much for answering those questions.
Sure.
I want everyone to be able to know where to find you, Patricia. So, where's the best place to contact you? Like Instagram, LinkedIn, email? Like, where should we, contact you?
I'm afraid I don't do any Instagram or social media other than LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn profile is Patricia Ross, and website is pmross.com. P as in Patricia, M as in Mary, ROSS as in Sam.
Yeah.
And if you do want my email, I can give you my email, but my website has got my email on it too. So
Yeah,
whatever you like.
awesome. So I'll actually just put like all your details at the below of this video. So if anyone watched it and they see a word, they'll be able to contact you as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I am looking. I'm working on some small stuff right now, but I'm constantly on the lookout for the next thing. So definitely searching for the next job.
Yeah, and you're open to either freelance or full time right now, right?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
so awesome. So thank you, Patricia, again. I
Thank you.
think your explanations of your experiences in the mentorship will really help those make a more informed decision on whether they actually want to do the mentorship or if it's actually right for them, right? So I really want to thank you for taking the time to share
My
your
pleasure.
experience, right? So you take care, and everyone, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.